The US Treasury Secretary, the man whose literal job title is in charge of America's money, just stood in front of a microphone and said with a completely straight face, "We are in the middle of a Bretton Woods realignment." Now, if you heard that sentence and you thought, great, sounds fine, probably fine, everything's fine, of course, I need you to sit down. Not because everything is not fine, but because that sentence is the financial equivalent of your pilot coming over the intercom and saying, "We're beginning to describe something as an unscheduled event coming right at us, perpendicularly."
Or, folks, we're beginning what I described as an unscheduled gravitational realignment of this very aircraft. Panic not.
Now, it's technically correct. It's also absolutely terrifying. And whether you have $500 in a saving account or $500,000 in a portfolio, what happens next will affect your money in ways your parents, your financial advisor, your CTA, and frankly the entire mainstream media have not explained to you in plain English. So today, that's what we're doing. Share like and no, I'm joking. Today, what we are doing, plain English, no jargon, no gold coin sales pitches, no bunker blueprints, just the uncomfortable truth about what's happening to the global financial system and what you can actually do about it, rather than just bloviating. The national debt is approaching $40 trillion, by the way. Gold is at near all-time highs again. The dollar's share of global reserves have dropped from 71% to under 58%, and countries are hoarding gold like it's out of style. So let's get into it, let's go. There are literally really only two possible plausible outcomes, and I'm going to be honest with you about both of them.
Price tells the truth.
Welcome back, beautifully financially anxious people of the internet, to a video about the most important thing happening in global economics right now. A thing that approximately 3% of people are showing attention to, 1% actually understand, and 0.5% are just quietly shaken somewhere in a bunker. The real risks, the real opportunities for normal human investors who are not named Goldman or Sachs or Citi or Barclays. If you're watching, hit me up. And we're going to be doing this in, I hope, only 12 minutes, which means I'm going to talk a little bit faster than is comfortable, and you're going to feel slightly smarter than is comfortable, and we're both going to go away and be like, yeah, that's okay. I agree with that. So let's start at the very beginning, the very beginning. 1944, a long time ago. The world has just finished the largest, most catastrophic, most expensive war in human history. Europe is in rubbles, economies are shattered, and 44 countries are sitting in a tiny hotel in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods, trying to answer one important question of the 20th century. Okay, now what? After we've killed everyone, after everything's maimed, after our capitals are in destruction, now what? And in the spirit, the time-old spirit of never letting a good crisis go to waste, they came up with a deal. And the deal they cooked up, over what I can assume were aggressively strong cocktails and wine and steaks, was this. The US dollar would be the world's reserve currency, the anchor, the foundation, the gold standard literally, because every dollar was backed by actual gold of $35 at that time, an ounce. Every other currency was pegged to the dollar. The IMF and the World Bank were born, and the United States of America became the, financially speaking, head teacher of a bunch of rowdy classmates. Why did it work? Because it gave the world a stable, a trusted system, a shared rule book. It was the financial equivalent of everyone agreeing to drive on the same side of the road and avoiding catastrophe. And from that agreement, we got beautiful things. We got highways, we got suburbs, we got the American middle class, we got the post-war economic boom. Some of you were probably even born then, I don't know. Arguably the greatest sustained period of human prosperity in human history. But here was the catch. The one rule. Uno rule. The golden rule, literally. You cannot print more of the dollars than you have gold to back them. That was it. That was the deal. Discipline, restraint, the adults are in charge. Hey, I like that. It sounds Austrian, it sounds Keynesian, it sounds good, right? And then Vietnam happened. And the Great Society social programs happened. And then the US government discovered that war and welfare together cost significantly more than the amount of gold sitting in good old Fort Knox. And rather than, stopping, reining it in, cut their balances, they got very creative. And by the late 1960s, other countries led. And in an act of absolutely legendary pettiness by France, they started demanding their gold back. France literally sent a warship to collect gold bars from the United States. A warship for gold. It belongs in some Pirates of the Caribbean. Old timers. But no, it happened. Because France looked at the American money printer going and said, "No, monsieur. We want the real thing. We want that gold. We don't want your printed into infinity paper greenbacks." And so, in a fateful 1971 presidential office, President Nixon, that great guy, went on television and did something that changed the entire nature of money forever.
We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world. In the past 7 years, there's been an average of one international monetary crisis every year.
But he may as well have. He took the dollar off the gold standard, just like that. No backing by gold, no physical anchor, just trust us. We're America.
In recent weeks, the speculators have been waging an all-out war on the American dollar.
It was, to use a technical economic term, absolute insanity.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets. It's very technical. What does it mean for you?
The dollar was backed by nothing but confidence in the United States government, which is a bit like your landlord saying, "Don't worry, the roof is completely structural sound," while quietly removing the load-bearing walls to sell them off to the local property business around the corner. What happened was the thing that quietly makes your savings worth less every year. Not those pesky children or your pets. Inflation, of course. It became a feature. No longer a bug. Think about it this way. The government collects 5 trillion in taxes. It's a lot of money. The government spends 7 trillion in defense, healthcare, interest on debt, various other things. Oh, that's a big gap. A $2 trillion gap, actually. So what do? You borrow it, obviously. The Fed prints the money to cover the debt. More dollars flood the economy, more dollars chasing the same amount of goods equals one thing. More goods, no. It means more on your grocery bill. Yeah, that's the part, right? And here's the part that makes it genuinely existential, depressingly melancholic, and quite anger-provoking, if you ask me. This system, our good old money printers, their money printers, it's not neutral. It doesn't hurt everyone equally. It enriches people unequally, but it hurts people in a distributed fashion. It's a caring and empathetic system, obviously. If you own assets, stocks, property, gold, well, inflation makes those assets worth more in nominal dollar terms. So you win, well done, congratulations. If you have a salary and you save cash, inflation quietly, politely, relentlessly, unceasingly, incessantly takes your purchasing power down and down and down. And that's not even to mention the effects of monetary printing and the base increasing and the purchasing power diminishing because of that. There's inflation and then there's circulation of ever more money in our M2, which is making a problem compounded, even worse. I mean, I think it's pretty well established that it's a machine for transferring wealth from the people who have very little to the people who have a lot. And it's been running more or less uninterrupted since 1971. 54 years with no comeuppance. Until now. So, enter Bessent. What's he actually planning? And what does this reset actually mean? So, Enter Scott Bessent, a darling of Wall Street and hedge funds, US Treasury Secretary now, former hedge fund extraordinaire, man who, in a moment of either extraordinary honesty or extraordinary incompetency and audacity, stood up and said the quiet parts out extremely loudly. We are in the middle of a Bretton Woods realignment. Not a tweak from dear old Bessent, not an adjustment from the good old boy, a realignment. The same word used to describe the 1944 moment that redesigned the entire global financial system. So what does it actually mean? What does he mean? What are his moves? What are the motives? Move one, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, it's been telegraphed by everyone. It's been spoken about in various papers. It's to weaken the dollar. Your dollar, my dollar, our dollars. The dollar right now is too strong. And it's not me saying it, it's them. This sounds like a good problem to have though, right? Like complaining that your muscles are too big, but it's actually catastrophic for the American manufacturing because it makes American products uncompetitive. So what's the plan? The plan is to get bigger muscles. No. This plan actually has a name. It's a Mar-a-Lago Accord, which is either deeply poetic or deeply on brand, depending on your political priors. It's to push the dollar down by somewhere between 20 and 40%. Through tariffs, through diplomacy, through a lack of diplomacy, through blowing up straits, through various machinations. What does that mean for you though? Because this is a YouTube channel and you need answers and I'm here to give solutions. Well, it means your vacation to Europe just went up 40%. It's more expensive. The foreign car you wanted, more expensive. Everything imported, more expensive. But the factory in Ohio, suddenly viable again. The manufacturing jobs back on the table, right? It's a trade, it's a throw up, it's a compromise. Short-term pain, and the pain is real. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, it definitely is. For long-term industrial resurrection, the pain is going to be great. Whether it works is the question the 10,000 economists are currently screaming at each other about. Move number 2, deregulate all of the banks. You know those guys who bankrupted us before, led us into the GFC, lied perfunctorily? Those guys. Deregulate them. Bessent wants to unwind significant chunks of the post-2008 financial crisis regulations. The official justification for this is making it cheaper and easier for banks to lend money, particularly community banks, which in theory will trickle down to local businesses, small, medium-sized enterprises, which are the backbone of many economies, and then spur on growth, right? Makes sense. But what's the unofficial reality? What's the part that doesn't make sense? Well, less regulation obviously means more risk. And if you know anything about bankers, and I mean this with the deepest politeness and possible affection for a profession that I understand extremely well, bankers will take every single gram of risk available when the consequences bail them out, when the catastrophic risks can be migrated and transferred somewhere else, or can be chopped up into tranches and, evenly distributed so that risk appears less pernicious. We're talking 3% GDP growth, 3% deficit. Yeah, right. 3 million extra barrels of oil per day. Bring the factories home, decrease their energy reliance, increase energy dominance, control AI races. The world is not sitting still, we're not going to be taken along for a ride. That's the 333 plan. Ambitious. Unrealistic maybe, but some may say. Well, they're actively reducing their use of the dollar. They're building alternative payment systems to replace SWIFT. They're doing trade deals in local currencies, a death knell to the US dollar hegemony. And central banks globally, the banks of banks, the banks of banks of banks, the bosses of banks are saying buying gold is prudent, a tier 1 asset. It should be in the mixture of reserves in a local central bank. That's not retail traders, that's not retail investors, that's central banks. The people who literally print the money are exchanging it for gold as fast as they can politely do so without causing a panic. So what's history's verdict? Well, it's virtually never as clean as scenario A, and it's virtually never as catastrophic as scenario B. But it is messy, it's uncomfortable, but it's navigable if you understand what's happening. Which obviously comfortably helps me to segue into their playbook. Okay, in the theme of 3-3-3, there are 3 risks you must understand before the reset reshuffles the deck. Risk 1, the cash trap. If you're sitting in a savings account earning, I don't know, 2 or 3% interest because you're scared of the market, and I say that with genuine care, not ridicule, you're not being safe. You're losing money in slow motion. Inflation is eroding your purchasing power, monetary printing, potential 40 to 20% of dollar weakening could turn that cash into radioactive waste. Your grandparents' advice, save the money in the bank, was correct advice in 1965 for sure. In 2025, with a managed dollar devaluation as official government policy, it's a recipe for quietly, disastrously, politely getting financially destroyed. You're also less exposed than you think, because Microsoft, Netflix, Apple, these companies generate roughly 40% of their revenue internationally. A weaker dollar actually means those foreign earnings translate into more dollars when returned home and repatriated. So the reality, as always, is complex, which means you actually need to look at what you own, not just whether it has American in the name. Geographic exposure matters more than geographic incorporation. I like that. That makes sense. The people who held cash and waited for things to go back to normal, they lost everything. They died slowly, they got silently crushed, they bled out hemorrhagically. The rules are changing again, right now, in real time. Your playbook, and I mean this as simply as I possibly can be, as simply as I can be. Understand what you own and where it actually earns the money, and where the risks lay in terms of it stopping earning money. You now know, my friends, you now know more than 95% of people know about what is actually happening to the global financial system. What you do with this information is entirely up to you. But maybe don't just leave it in a savings account. I mean, not financial advice, guys, remember. So, just remember, guys, France sent a literal warship for the gold in 1971. Just let that sink in. A warship for gold bars from America. The French, if nothing else, have always understood the assignment. And for me, good night and good luck out there.